Welcome back to another episode of ThePlaybook. God, a lot has happened in these 2 weeks. I feel like this 2025, we're only halfway through February, but 2025 has been absolutely insane. So grateful for some of the things that have happened in this year. I think last time I did a podcast, I was just recapping the triathlon, which was a week prior before I'd recorded that. Now, this week, I'm just going to do a quick recap of the last 1 week in terms of some of the stuff that has been going on outside of my life. I think the main thing for me is just documenting this, so it's got a little position in time and space for me to reflect back on in the future, as I've said. Last week, I took some time off, took 4 days off work. The reason being is because my twin brother came over to Dubai. This was the second time he visited. The first time he visited was 3 months into my Dubai real estate journey, and in 3 months as to when I just literally landed here. So it was May 2023. That time I was driving a Mitsubishi Atrage. Nothing against the Mitsubishi Atrage, but I mean, yeah, it wasn't the pinnacle of luxury. Neither was my studio in Al Farjan, where the very first episode of this podcast was recorded, which is insane. But the first time he came, I was brand new to Dubai. I was still very anxious when it came to my security in the city, if I was going to last, my security around the job. The burning desire to keep closing deals was very front of mind, and I couldn't allow myself the time to enjoy the city with him. I didn't know anybody. I only knew the people who I worked with and some of the people who I'd previously lived with, but I couldn't introduce my brother to any of my friends because they really weren't any. So at that time, I mean, he stayed with me in my studio. I don't even know what we did. I just genuinely don't know what we did. I think we did some of the touristy stuff, which if you're visiting Dubai and you do the touristy stuff, it's not really a good representation of this city, nor is it really great. I mean, going to look at the Burj Khalifa, like it's not completely enthralling. So this time, it was a completely different experience. This time, he met everybody at the run club. This time, he got to know about 10, 15 other guys who I've become really good friends with. And he had the opportunity to meet some of them people. This time we went to the beach together. We didn't even do that last time. This time we went for a cycle in Maidan. This time we did a workout outdoors. And like this time we went for a run around the park in a place that I did all my marathon training. For other people, it's like, well, that's not really a holiday. But for me and for him, that is a holiday. That's when we spend our time together. That's when we, growing up, spent all of our time together, going to the gym together, playing sports together. So that's what felt natural to us. And to be able to do that together here this time was amazing. And I think it showed to him and a complete other side to Dubai, the fact that it can be a really active lifestyle, that it can be super social and you can surround yourself with great people. Combine that with doing the Burj to Burj half marathon with him. Such an experience. The whole thing was such an experience, like compared to last year. And the time is trivial. Completing it is trivial for me. The fact of the whole thing was like unbelievable. The day before, doing the run club together, organizing some t-shirts for everybody in the run club that were running the half marathon, which was like 10 or 15 of us. Why it's so special to me is because when I did it last year in January 2024, when I did the Burj to Burj half marathon in January 2024, I didn't have anybody to do it with. I was living with Liam at the time, and this isn't painting him in a bad light, but this is just a story. I was like, when I was leaving the apartment in the morning, it was like 5:30. I was like, Liam, will you meet me at the finish line with my bag, which had my phone, change of clothes, everything? I was like, will you meet me at the finish line at 7:30 or whatever? And he was like, yeah, Brian, I'll be there. So got in a taxi, no phone, just had my AirPods, listening to music, and I was doing it at the start line by myself. I was driving to the start line by myself. And I told my brother, at that time, because he was the one who was coaching me towards that event, that even though I was by myself, I felt like that he was with me. And during the race, when I needed some extra bits of motivation, I felt that he was with me, that he was running by my side, that he was running right behind me. And why, I don't know why that thought came into my head, but it came into my head during the first time. And I came across the finish line expecting Liam to be there, and he wasn't there. So I was in downtown just under the Burj Khalifa. I just finished the Burj to Burj half marathon, my first ever half marathon. And I really enjoyed the moments, but I didn't have a phone and I didn't know how I was going to get home. I didn't have anybody there with me to across the finish line. I couldn't share the moment with anybody. Now, Liam was in bed. He slept in. I didn't hold it against him. And then we met up and went to the beach afterwards. Fast forward a year, I'm surrounded by so many people doing the run at the same time, so many people doing their first ever half marathon, so many people that I can help, and that I not that I can help, that I can be there with, not selflessly but selfishly, that I can enjoy my time with those people. And we started the start line together, like a group of 10 of us, and after we finished, everybody was together and we went for some breakfast. Like, that was so special to me. The fact that I had nobody with me the first time and then so many great people the second time. The cherry on top was being able to do it with my brother, the person who had trained me to my first half marathon, my first marathon, who introduced me to running, to triathlons, that helped me every step and every week and every milestone has been with him, even though he's been across the other side of the world. And for me to have felt his presence in the first run, that he was by my side, that I felt like that he was running with me to the second time. And what had happened in the run was that we both started at the same time and we were both roughly aiming for the same time. I didn't know what I was going to run because I really hadn't done that much training in terms of long runs, because I was doing a triathlon training, but I knew I had, like nearly 2 hours in the pain cave, so to speak. Like, I conditioned myself that with the triathlon, that was 3 hours, like aerobically, I knew I was going to be fine. It was going to be in the tank. I was just afraid if my legs were going to keep it and if I was running at a hot pace. And we took off from the start line, and Mark, my brother, set off really, really quickly. He was doing like 430 kilometers. I could see him just go forward, just dodging between people. And I told him not to make these big dodges and try and pass people and stuff, because all of that adrenaline and wasting that energy will just come back to bite you later on in the race. Anyways, I let him off to it because I thought he was going to finish in a better time than me. And he set off at 430s, and I was like, I'm not maintaining that. I'm going to be smart here. And I did 450s. And I was like, if I can do 450s for 21 kilometers, I'm happy with that, because last year my time was 5:02 per kilometer, which ended up being 1:45 or 1:46. So I was like, look, as long as I beat that, I'm fine. So I was doing 450s. I was waiting about 12, 13, 14 kilometers in for me to start slowing down, but it wasn't happening. 15 kilometers in, wasn't happening. 16 kilometers in, I was like, I still feel fresh. What the hell is going on here? And then at the 17th kilometer, I could see somebody running ahead of me a bit slower than they were at the start, with a run club thing in their back. And I was like, oh my God, that's Mark. And I was running up behind him, slowly catching him. I probably was running like 10 seconds per kilometer faster, slowly catching. And I was afraid that when I went up to him, God, there's a fly going around here. I was afraid that when I went up to him, that he was going to be in a world of shit, that he was going to be like, I'm finished, I'm toast, like I'm blowing up here, that he would be struggling. And I didn't want to really kind of impede on that, because sometimes, for me anyways, when I'm in the shit like that I don't really want anybody else around, because I want to kind of go through it by myself. But I ran up alongside him and he was okay. Like, I think he was just easing off, and that it was definitely difficult for him. It was his first half marathon, so he was reaching into the unknown for the first time, which is always scary, reaching into the unknown like that and testing what you're capable of and doing something that you've never done before. Then you don't know what it's like. You're in this phase, you're in this kind of realm of uncertainty, and it's like, this is uncharted water, and that's exciting, but it's also unknown until you get in there. But I ran up alongside him and he was okay. Like, he was maintaining 4:55 or 5-minute kilometers. And I was like, right, are you ready? So then we finished the last 3 kilometers together. His AirPods had died, so I took out one of my AirPods and I gave it to him. and we were listening to the same music. We were running the last 3 kilometers or 4 kilometers together, and we were side by side. And that memory will always be etched in my mind. And we finished across the line together, even though we hadn't planned it, even though that for 17 kilometers of a race, for, an hour or longer than an hour, we were completely apart and I couldn't see him. And the fact that we were side by side then for the last 4 kilometers and we finished at the exact same time, we crossed the line at the exact same time together, was so special to me. Like, especially because the year before I had felt like that he was spurring me on, that he was, even though he wasn't there, that I could feel that when I was in the depths of it, that he was pushing me on because he had helped me with all the training. So now this time I was by his side and he was definitely suffering, and he will admit it. And I was trying to spur him on, and we definitely took it up the last few kilometers. But to be able to finish that together was so fucking cool for me. So, so cool. In the city that I've called home for these last 2 years, around friends that I didn't know a year ago. To be able to do that with him was such a milestone for me, and also a PB 142. So it was just like unbeatable. I would not have changed that day. There's no element of that day that I would have changed. So that whole time with him was like unbelievable. He kind of, first time, he didn't really like Dubai, couldn't really see himself living here. This time really, really enjoyed it because of the active side of things, the social side of things. We didn't even go out for a drink. Obviously that's what's important to him, and that's the things that he enjoys, and that's what other people might consider hell. But now he could see himself doing a bit of a stint here, if he will or not, I don't know. But that was such an amazing few days, and to be able to have that memory that just locked in a box and there in my photos and out here spoken in the open like this is unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable for me. Like, I mean, who knew that, like, just running for an hour and 45 minutes or an hour and whatever, and training towards something like that, and doing it with your closest friends could give you such joy. Like, it's more joy than I felt in any sort of like other space. Like, I mean, like, if you could bottle that feeling after it and sell it, like, it would just be a drug, because you don't feel that very often. You don't get those emotions, and it's impossible to assume that you would always feel that way, or that you'd be striving for feeling that way the whole time. But it's such a natural high. It's such a natural high. Like, there's no nightclub or no like rave or drugs that I've taken in the past that would make me feel the way that I felt there. Like, it's so cool because everyone's experiencing the same thing as you. Everybody, all 10,000 people there are going through their own pain, their own shit, like their own pain cave. They're unlocking things that they have never unlocked before. They're reaching into the unknown. They're going after it. They're trying to improve themselves, and they're just going after it, and they're just taking on ambitious goals, audacious goals, things that they didn't think is possible. And the running or the numbers or whatever isn't important, but they set their mind to something, then they go after it. So for me, that's unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. I think the second big thing that happened over the last few days was we had an awards night for Novi Properties, the company that I work for. And I always liked being number one when it came to being an agent, and I think the thing that I struggled with was the fact that competition really drove me on as an agent. It really drove me on the fact that I could control my success. I could dictate where I stood in the rankings, and I could control that completely. So stepping into a managerial role again, I couldn't control that, so to speak. I couldn't really control, my performance, or, to an extent, like, I couldn't really compete with other people. Yeah, I could compete with other managers, but like, it was different. So in the awards night, I just thought it was going to be just for the agents, and it's a weird one because I'll get into it, and this is just my instinct, and maybe this just reflects more about me than anything. But there was an award for the best manager of 2024, and the second that was announced, it was like everybody was turning, being like, "Oh, Brian, 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 Brian." I was like, "Shit, I think I've won this." And sure enough, my name was announced, and I went up and collected my prize. And then I came down and opened the box, and it was a Rolex. And if you know me, I'm not a big watch guy. I'm not a big material guy. Yeah, like my nice things in terms of a nice apartment, a nice car, like a nice bike, like for a triathlon. But watches just really aren't my thing. Like it's just, I have no interest. It's just not on my radar. And when I opened it, like everyone's like, "Oh my God, wow, that's so amazing." Like, "Oh, watch Rolex." And the amount of attention that I got from a fucking Rolex, like it just blows my mind. I don't understand it. Like everybody puts these material desires just up on this pedestal. Like this is just a piece of metal that we all agree is important, or it's all we all agree is valuable or expensive. Expensive based off money that we agree is useful. Like it's just all underrooted in like a social construct of like, we value this is like, this is valuable, this piece of metal is valuable, this means something, this is something you should strive for. And like all my life I never thought about getting a watch, never thought about getting a watch. I never noticed a fucking watch on somebody's wrist, and people had Rolex, I'd be like, I don't care, whatever. Like whatever. When it wasn't even from a case of like, let me just reject my material desires, or so to speak. It's like I just wasn't bothered. Like it's like if somebody starts telling me about this different species of plants, I like, it's just not my interest. Same with watches. But the amount of people that were coming up to me was insane. And then I put it on my story, and the amount of people that responded, and the amount of people that fucking responded was like more than if I just had, like when I done my first marathon. Like it's just like in society what we grade is important and not important blows my mind. Now this isn't saying one's right or one's wrong or one's bad or one's good. I'm not sitting up on my high horse being like, I'm above your material desires. That's not it. I just find the underlying psychology and really, really interesting. And it kind of came back to this story that I've told people about when you're not focusing on material possessions, you can actually gain them just as a byproduct of focusing on the work. So this is a lesson that I've extracted in the past when I've won awards. This, as the story goes, this guy in my previous company used to always talk about Mont Blanc pens. Mont Blanc pen this, Mont Blanc pen that. I would love a Mont Blanc pen. I want one that has my initials engraved, and I want to sign all my contracts for my houses. I want to hand it down to my son and my grandson and have this heirloom of a Mont Blanc pen. And I was like, I don't understand that. I don't understand that, because I was like, could you do the same with just a normal Bic pen? No. Why? Because a Mont Blanc pen is far more valuable. It means something. And for me, my argument is value is derived from what you attribute to it. So if I told them at the time, I was like, if I give you this Bic pen, this piece of shit, what you call a piece of shit pen, but it does the same job it writes. If I gave you this pen and I told you that you have to sign all your contracts with this if you buy a home, you have to sign all your deals if you close them, you hand this down to your kids and your kids from there, would you not agree that that has the same value as a Mont Blanc pen that you've done the same with? And he was like, no, completely different. You can't do that. I was like, so you're saying that if I got this pen from now on going forward, I'm like, this is my special pen, I'll sign everything, I'll give it down to my grandkids, that this doesn't have the same value as that pen? And then he started talking about the brand, the underpinnings, like how much it's worth. But it's like, again, that's just what we agree on. Like, that's something that we're just like, this is worth X and this is worth Y, from a market that we derived in supply and demands and the brand it's being built. Like, what happens if Mont Blanc goes into a lawsuit and then sales drops? Does that pen lose its value? He's like, no, because then it's like, I've used it anyways for all my. I'm like, well, we're talking about the same things here. Anyways, I didn't understand Mont Blanc pens. Fast forward, I guarantee you it could have been a month or two. I get a delivery in the office. It's a Mont Blanc pen. A client had gifted me a Mont Blanc pen with my initials engraved on it. In the same week, I became senior leasing broker. My work, what did they give me? A Mont Blanc pen with my initials engraved on it. I had 2 Mont Blanc pens with my initials engraved on it, even though I said Mont Blanc's pens were so stupid to me. Meanwhile, the person sitting beside me who was talking how much he wanted a fucking Mont Blanc pen didn't get it. He didn't get one. I was sitting with 2 and I didn't even see the value behind them. Work ended up replacing that pen because they saw I just got another one and just got me an Apple Watch instead. Mind you, an Apple Watch that I use every single day, and I will continue to use, that provides me more valuable than that pen, which is far more expensive but just sits in my drawer. And this other broker would put these material desires at the front of his mind. They would be on a sheet of paper in front of his computer, the house, the car, the whatever. For me, it's not that. It's about closing the deals. It's about doing the business. It's about being number one. It's being about perfecting my trade, about improving myself until I'm just unstoppable. And because he's so focused on these material possessions, I think that can almost make them escape him in some weird way. The same person used to always talk about watches as well, and he'll be the first to admit. And then I got this wrong. He used to always talk about Rolexes. And then when I opened the box and I saw it was a fucking Rolex, I took a picture and I sent it to him. I was like, there you go. They got a Rolex. This isn't me rubbing it in his face. But again, the same thing I drew from was I've never thought about a fucking watch. I've never thought about a Mont Blanc pen. But by focusing on working to the best of my abilities for the sake of doing the work rather than what it's going to get me, I get those things as a byproduct because that's what people agree, what people in those positions should get. Like all I focus on is giving it my best, doing the best job, and trying to close deals or trying to build a team or trying to be the best manager support as possible, not for what it's going to get me, but for doing this for the sake of it, for building something, for the act of doing it, for the process, for what I get from it, from like for the pursuit of perfection in my trade, and the pursuit of learning and gaining experience and knowledge and stacking skills upon skills upon skills. Like that's what it is for me. And this is why it surprises me. It's just like I didn't ask for a pen. I didn't ask for a watch. I never thought they were important. And I'm the very person who gets them. Like, how is that fair? How is that fair? Like, if he rolled out a bike for me, it would have been more, I would have enjoyed it more. But it's funny, like the people who don't even want the things end up getting the things just by not focusing on it. The same can be drawn into my experience within the gym. Like I've always tried to be losing weight. I used to always try and lose weight ever since struggling with weight as a kid in, 16, 17, being 110 kg. I tried to lose weight by focusing on losing weight. This is my goal. I'm going to try and lose weight. I'm going to cut calories, blah, 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 blah. Ended up having a really bad relationship with food. I was going through this cutting and bulking cycle of losing weight, gaining weight, losing weight, gaining weight, losing weight, gaining weight. When that changed was when I started doing performance-related goals. When I started running. When I started taking my eyes away from losing weight is the goal and be like, okay, I'm going to try and run a half marathon. I'm going to try and run a marathon. I'm going to do a triathlon. And then you start achieving these goals just by not looking at them, because the goal is something else. The goal is performance related. I'm not looking at my food, but because my expenditure was so high, because I'm mindful about how I feel when I'm going into training in the morning or how I feel after training, then I'm fueling correctly, then I'm not eating shit, then I'm not eating out at the weekend, that I'm focusing just on cycling or swimming or running, I'm burning calories as a byproduct, but burning calories isn't the main goal. The main goal is to do the work, to follow the training plan in order to achieve these audacious goals. And then I just start losing weight. And then my relationship with food improves. And then I achieve these goals, the things that I was striving for, just by not looking at them. How can you tie this into your life? How can you tie this into your job as a real estate agent? How can you abstract some of the lessons that I've learned from the things I've just spoke about over the last 25 minutes, and how can you put those into practice? For me as a broker, the big thing is, let's focus on the deals closed, not the commission earned. Let's focus on doing the work. Let's focus on perfecting the craft, perfecting the process, streamline the process. How do I expand this? How do I scale my business of a real estate broker? How do I focus on the business metrics? How do I focus on providing the best service for my clients? Let me just focus on closing the most amount of deals in a month, working with the most amount of people, providing like the optimal service and streamlining how I do my business. The commission will come as a result. The commission will come as a result. The money will be made as a result. I focused all my time on closing the deals. I've said time and time again on this podcast as a broker, focus on deals closed over commission earned. And in my first month, this is what I said. In my second month, this is what I said. In my third month, this is what I said. In my second month, I said this to somebody who I was living with at the time. I said, I'm not focusing on the money that's going to be made. I'm focusing on the deals. And he was like, oh, that must be nice, coming from, you must be rich, coming from rich parents. I was like, buddy, like I have like 5,000, I've like no money in my account. Like, this is it. This is my life savings. Like, there's no plan B. I've burnt the boats. I cannot go back there. I am not rich. I've paid for everything in my life up until this point. And you're telling me that it must be nice because I must have rich parents. That's not the case. I have a single mother. I have worked all my way through this. I've put myself through college. I have paid for everything by myself since the age of 13. But that doesn't mean that I have to be striving for just making money. I'm just looking at these deals as just commission. I'm looking at these clients as commission. I'm just looking at making money, just commission breath, just money hungry the whole time. Money and material desires. I have always focused on closing the deals, and the money will come as a result. But if you're focusing just on the money, then people can feel that. If you're focusing just on the money, you will be short-term thinking and you won't be long-term thinking. If you're focusing just on the money, you'll be distracted by attractive opportunities that seem to pop up that are not attractive opportunities whatsoever. You're spending all your time in this pursuit of money and material desires that is taking you away from closing the deals and focusing on the work. That's the biggest lesson that anybody listening to this can extract. That is the lesson that anybody listening to this can extract and put into their life. It's, if I've got something that I want to achieve, okay, for now, let's not just get so caught up in the achievement of the thing. Let me just try and switch my focus into the doing, into the process, into the practice. If it's you're looking for weight loss, let me focus on running. Let me focus on the process. Let me focus on the program that somebody has prescribed me of how many runs I have to do a week, how many gym sessions. If I'm doing a triathlon, let me focus on the cycles. These are my times I have to hit today. This is the distance I have to hit today. This is the process. I'm going to perfect this process. And I'm going to follow the guidelines. I'm going to perfect my craft within this. And the weight loss will come. Or it will be easier because your focus isn't just on that. The same goes with your material desires. If whatever industry you're in and you're just slaving away because you want this, that, and the other, then take your eye off that. And it's the same with my managerial position now. And that's why I won Manager of the Year, because other managers would be like, I'm not doing this unless it pays me. I'm not helping this person unless it pays me. I'm not doing this if I can't see a clear output in terms of money in my pocket. And it's solely like me, all about me and how much I make. Like, it's like, I deserve this. But like, how about you just do the work and focus on perfecting the work and give without any expectation of receiving. And if you do that long enough, you perfect it. If you give without any expectation of that you have to be rewarded for it, or you follow this chain of command. If somebody tries and asks you for help, you're like, go speak to your manager. Or if a team asks you to rope yourself in with their team, that you're like, no, that's not my team. That's not my job. It's just like, shut up. Shut up. Like, perfect your craft, perfect the process, focus on the process, and the rest will come. And that's what I've done. If the money is enough for me to get by per month, I don't care. I don't care about the rest. Like, if I can not worry about when I go to a restaurant and pay the bill, if I go and get a coffee, I can, if I need this, if I need that, if I need a new suit that I can buy it, then the rest doesn't really matter to me, because I'm focusing on the process. I'm focusing on building something here. I want something in the long term. I want my stamp of leaving my mark in this industry, in this city. I want to build something here. I want other people around me who are also like that, building together, that they're not the people who are thinking money first, that they're the people who are chasing audacious goals, that are pushing themselves out into the upper bounds of what they're capable of doing and reaching into the unknown. And if I focus on that, then I know that the money mightn't be here right now, but it will come in the future, that I'll achieve the things that other people deem as important. And I will reach those points and achieve them anyways, just by not focusing on them. And it's not even just not by focusing on them, but it's just not having it in the front of my mind the whole time. So I guarantee that in a few years' time, there's going to be other things that I achieved and that I get, and material, like whatever. But it's like, I will still get them and enjoy them. But I don't agree with why other people find them important. Like, I'll still wear my Rolex to work, but I just don't understand why people think they're so important. Like, I can hold those two conflicting beliefs at the same time. Like, I can wear a watch and be like, this is fucking stupid. Like, why are people so important? I can use a pen, the Mont Blanc pen, which I used yesterday and gave to one of the brokers on my team's clients to sign their contract. They're like, oh, this is a really nice pen. It's like, yeah, shit, like, it's a pen. It's a pen. It's a pen. I can have two conflicting beliefs at the same time. I can get the material possessions and still not believe that, they're intrinsically important. It's just what we agree is to be important. And I will still achieve them, but I'm going to keep focusing on the work. I'm going to keep focusing on perfecting my craft. I'm going to keep focusing on being the best version of myself and being focused on the task at hand and chasing improvement and performance and reaching into the unknowns again, because all of these things that I've got awarded and achieved for is things that I started not knowing a thing about. I mean, my first run, I couldn't run 2 kilometers. My first day in management, I was like, fuck this. I will not be able for this. The night before, I was terrified. I came on this podcast and I was terrified that I've had all this insecurity and shit that I was just like, I won't be able to do this thing. But just by doing it for a long period of time, by following the program, by doing it consistently, by not having it at the forefront of my mind about what I'm going to get out of it, then I achieve these things. And people look at this and be like, oh, wow, you're such a good manager. Or, oh, wow, like, I mean, you're so healthy and, you must be, naturally talented to be able to come on a podium on your first triathlon. It's like, you don't even know. And that's fine. But I started on day one a short time ago, in some cases, not knowing a thing. And it's just through the process, being process orientated instead of outcome orientated, that you will achieve your goals without even realizing it. That is today's episode. That was a long episode. God, I went into a rant. I hope somebody took some value out of that. If somebody resonates with that, if somebody has any examples of how this has happened in their life, or they literally just want to speak about this further, like, shit, like, I have so much to say about that, or they're like, yeah, like that conversation would light me up, then let me know. Like, I'm more than happy to have these conversations with people. I'm more than happy to help anybody who's been listening to this podcast. I'm more than happy to answer anybody's questions when it comes to this industry, the city, whatever, because I know when I was in that position that I needed somebody to help me, and I didn't get that. So, and because I'm process oriented, I don't want anything in return. I don't want anything in return. I'm not asking for anything in return. Now, I know something in the future will come as a result of it, but I don't want anything. I'm just going to let the rest figure itself out. But if anybody took value from that, let me know, reach out to me. And yeah, really thank you to anybody who's listened this far. I'll see you in the next one.